to our podcast.
Yeah.
This is the Coach's Car Ride Home. I'm your host, Lauren, and I'm here with Paul. He is my dad, and we are both coaches for a travel volleyball club here in South Florida.
Jupiter Elite, 14-year-olds.
That's us. We started this podcast. We're going to give this journey a go. It is about just our coach's perspective, not only from coaching, but I used to play here at Jupiter Elite. My dad used to coach me. Now we coach together. So we want to kind of talk about just our coaching style and how we can help athletes get better at volleyball, and also include parents in on the conversation.
Right. Kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on the other side of the court from the parents' perspective on the bench. And we kind of came up with this idea because for two reasons. We always talk about on the car ride home what happened at the match, and we've been doing this since she was a player and I was her dad and then her coach and so on. And we also developed a post-tournament wrap-up that we type up and deliver to the parents after the tournament, kind of our perspective on what happened during the tournament, things that they may not have known or had any idea or may not have the skill level to understand. And it was really well received by our parents, and they kept asking for more and more and more. So we do that now after every tournament, and we figured we'll try a podcast and see if that works outside of just our parents and our club, and maybe other people could learn from the things that we experience.
Yeah, all of our experiences as coaches and players and beyond. So yeah, that's kind of what we're all about. We hope you enjoy and you tune in every week. We're going to be recording on Mondays, releasing on Wednesdays. So hopefully you can enjoy the podcast on your car ride home, or to practice, or, to your tournaments in the weekends. So tune in.
And yeah, lots of topics. I mean, every tournament and every practice, we come up with more and more things that we talk about that we think people might be interested in, and we'll try and add those to the podcast. And of course, if the audience has any suggestions, they can write to us, text us, email us, whatever, and let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's jump in. Let's introduce ourselves first.
Good
I
idea.
feel like these people don't know who we are.
Right.
So I'm Lauren. I am a 14U volleyball coach at Jupiter Elite. I am 29 years old. I grew up in South Florida. I now live here. I grew up playing for Jupiter Elite. So volleyball has been a part of my life for 15 years. Started super young, got really competitive, loved it, started playing travel ball, and then I went to college. I played at Marist University. It's a university now.
I know.
Woohoo.
It's a college when you were there.
Yeah, so it's 4 years at Marist, Division I school in the MAC conference. So then I moved home and they asked me to coach. I said, heck no. And then they talked me into it a little bit. I reached out to my dad and they said, hey, do this with me. And then it's now our 6th season together coaching at Jupiter Elite.
Sure is.
So that's me. But yeah.
Yeah, so we're a father-daughter team of coaches in travel volleyball, which is kind of unique. We don't see a lot of other people doing that, but it's kind of fun because we get to spend the weekends together at tournaments and practices together during the week, and share our experiences. She's the head coach, I'm the assistant coach.
Different.
Yeah, every ref we run into thinks I'm the head coach and she's the assistant coach.
They all go to shake his hand and I'm like, no, hi, it's me.
Although that makes it harder for me because I have to be more quiet on the sidelines and not get in trouble. But anyway, my name's Paul. I'm her dad. I was her coach when she started playing at 14s as a volunteer. I knew nothing about volleyball. I was one of those parents that got dragged in and they said, we need an assistant coach to help out with this team. So of course I volunteered. Didn't know much about the game, but learned really quickly and fell in love with the game and decided that this was something that I really enjoyed. So from there I went on to become a head coach. Never a paid coach. Some of our coaches in the club are paid, but I'm a volunteer. And then also became the director of our club, which was quite an experience. being a club director is a whole new ball game from being a coach or a parent. There's so much more that goes into it, but it gives you a really good perspective on what goes on behind the scenes with USAB, AAU, the club level, the parents, the refs, the coaches, the money, the whole that whole realm of the sport. So I learned a lot from that. When Lauren went off to college, I got out of being the director of the club, took a couple of years off to just be a dad and a fan of the Marist volleyball team, and then when she came back, I was happy to get back in. And so the other unique perspective is we don't have a kid on the team, so we don't have an interest in our personal player, which makes it kind of good for us because we can treat them all fairly. We don't have that bias. When I was coaching her, I tried not to have bias, but you're still the dad, right? So my assistant coach or my head coach, and I was the assistant, he would be in charge, he or she would be in charge of her, and I would take care of some of the other players. Yeah, you never coached
me. I don't think
it would have been received very well, so I tried to stay away from that. So anyway, now I've got however many years of coaching experience that she's been playing, so probably 14 years.
Yeah.
And it's been a fun ride. We've had really beginner level teams all the way up to teams that qualified and played in nationals, USAB nationals and AAU nationals, and it's been really fun. So that's where we're at. That's how we got here. And so hopefully we can share some of our experiences.
Yeah, and I just want to really emphasize on how cool it is that you volunteer, right? That's not normally how it goes, especially in the travel volleyball world. And even as a club director, I think our club is one of the very last clubs to be run by, the town, and we're not bought by a big company, and we have all volunteers. I think all of our staff members except coaches, so like your treasurer and your scheduler and our club director, she's awesome, and the one previous from her, they're all volunteers. They just spend their time and they love it for their kids. So I think that's super special.
It's unique because volleyball is becoming a big business, and sometimes the money and the business gets in the way of the coaching and the fun. So in our particular club, we can keep it more of a family-oriented, non-profit kind of experience, and we think that's beneficial.
I think
I don't knock the other clubs. There's a lot of great clubs
that
do wonderful, amazing things and develop great players. But we've taken this club from a little volunteer organization of parents to a club that's now competing on a national level because we've brought in some paid coaches and we've brought back our previous players to become coaches. I think we have 2 or 3 or 4 previous players who are now back as coaches, and all of our coaches played in college and all of our coaches played at a really high level, so we're able to bring that experience to the younger generations.
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode on just our club alone.
Maybe we should.
But I think that's just a little bit about us and who we are and our duo and kind of what we're all about. But we should just jump into some
let's talk
topics.
About the week.
Let's start talking about our big weekend that we just had. You know?
What an exciting tournament we had.
Yeah, we're coming off a big win. We just won our first tournament, our first gold medal for the season. We played in the Tri-County Volleyball Challenge, which is right over there. We have worked really hard, and these girls really deserved this big win this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We played in Open against a really good competition. It's a Miami-based tournament at the fairgrounds, and we played mostly Miami-based teams. And Miami-based teams are really good teams.
Yeah.
They play super scrappy, tight defense. They get every ball up. They're really hard to beat. They're energetic. They're excited, and it was a pretty good competition level all the way around.
Oh, for sure. And I think every team we had really solid players. There was nobody where we blew anyone out of the water. It was like tight competition the whole weekend. And so I think, playing at high levels is what we were kind of all about. And I think our girls really pushed through and showed us what they could do this weekend. So we'll talk a lot probably about our championship match in this episode. I think it showed us a lot about what our girls can do and kind of showed us some things, some highlights from the weekend.
What we need to work on.
Yeah, what we have to work on this week before we go play in Tampa next weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing. We always come out of a tournament. One of the things we talk about on the ride home is what do we need to work on, and what did this past weekend show us that are things we need to focus on in practice to improve for the upcoming weekend.
Yeah, for sure. So our big one, let's talk about our defense adjustments that we made this weekend,
Okay.
especially at the 14-year-old level. I mean, it's insane that we are able to kind of coach our girls through and make adjustments mid-game, mid-set. I think there was a point where we called a timeout, or the other team called a timeout, and you talked about, okay, he's going to make adjustments. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times while Lauren's coaching the game, I'm watching the other coach to see what they're up to, and I can tell when they're going to call a timeout and most of the time what they're going to talk about. And one of the things that I knew they were going to talk about is we were getting a lot of kills from our middles, and we were feeding our middles a lot. And I could see him trying to communicate with his middles on the court to make adjustments. So I knew that when he called that timeout, he was going to say, let's focus on tracking these middles better, or double or triple blocking the middles. So knowing that that's what they're going to do, we have to make a counter adjustment. So we talked to our team in the timeout about setting the right side, setting the outside, using a back row attack, where on the court is going to be open so that we can continue to score once they've adjusted against what's working for us.
Right. And I think also adjusting what's working for them, right? Like, so right now we're playing a lot of rotational defense. We've found out that that works for us, especially at the 14-year-old
Which
level.
is kind of unique. You don't see a lot of 14-year-old teams running rotational, right? Everybody teaches perimeter. Here's your spot. Stay in
Stay
it.
there.
You
Yeah.
know, be ready for wherever the ball's going to go. But we found that rotational works really good at 14 because a lot of teams tip, right? When they get in trouble, they rely on that tip because they're still playing in their mindset of 12 and 13-year-olds where it's
Get the
just
ball
get
over the net.
over.
Yeah.
And if you can't make a perfect hit, you tip. So by playing rotational, we can bring that defender up and cover tips a lot better.
Yeah.
Also, we find that 14-year-olds don't really move that fast and cover the court real well. So in perimeter, it's hard to pick up tips and hard to pick up donut holes. So perimeter works. Rotational works.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to get these girls to
Get to
do
the
it.
line.
They have no idea what we're talking about
Yeah.
when we say we're going to play rotational early in the season, and we have to teach it and we have to drill it and we have to go through it. And it's gotten to the point now with our team that
They prefer it.
They prefer it, but the downside is they're not real good at perimeter. So if we have to switch back, we're kind of in trouble. So that's one of the things we have to work on in practice, is getting good at both so we can switch mid-game and make adjustments.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the other adjustments that the coach we were playing against made was he recognized we were playing rotational and said, well, they're playing rotational, so here are the open spots on the court.
Yeah.
The roll shot to middle back, the tip or the cut to the 4 spot.
Yeah.
And so now we have to be aware of that. So now we're telling our goals, they know we're playing rotational. Now they're going to try and start hitting to these spots.
Yeah.
So now we have to watch our hitters and adjust. And we did that. We pulled off the line a little bit on certain hitters. We adjusted based on where the ball was coming from. And, you know, from your perspective, what else did we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a really good job of adjusting. They had one really good hitter.
A lefty, right?
Yeah, a lefty,
which you
which
don't see a lot of.
I mean, hitting that ball, and it was coming fast, right? And I think, you know, really early on, we saw that she was hitting a lot of cross, and we talked to our girls, block cross, especially when you're playing rotational. You know, you have someone on the line, you want to force them to hit down the line. But in 14-year-old volleyball, they just try to follow the ball a lot. So I remember in that timeout, we told them, we said, take even more cross. Be more almost in the middle of the court, right? This hitter was also hitting from the back row, and she was annihilating the ball.
And they set her 90% of the time, even if she's in the back row.
Yeah, 90%. And so, you know, she was scoring, and she was scoring and scoring and scoring. And then we made this adjustment, and we started blocking her. And it was just really cool to see how our girls were able to adjust. And you looked up the stats. How many blocks did we have in this game?
We had 11 or 12 blocks.
That's insane.
In this one game from 14-year-old girls. And it was because we adjusted our defense to where this particular hitter was hitting that they were setting most of the time.
Yeah.
We also adjusted our defense. We got a lot of digs off of her because she was hitting the same spot every time. So we were able to move that defender to the right spot.
Yeah. So I think that's a huge win for us, you know.
Oh, and you mentioned the double block, right?
Oh, yes.
We're double blocking this girl on her back row attack.
Back row.
Does anybody double block a back row attack? No, but when it's the dominant hitter and she's scoring on you, that's what you got to do, and it
That's what
worked.
you gotta do.
And when it did work, and we blocked her a couple of times, it started to shut her down. She
And it
started
forced
getting
her to tip.
frustrated. She started tipping. She started hitting into the net, and that was all because we put some pressure on her where she wasn't used to getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that's important, even starting at the youngest age of 13, 14 years old, of kind of teaching the girls, like, hey, we need to make adjustments mid-game. Like, you don't just go out there and play what you know how to play. Like, you need to be able to make those mid-game adjustments, and in the middle of a timeout say, okay, go do this instead.
And understand why. And
Right.
we teach them why, and when they understand the why, then it's a lot easier to get them to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a really big win for us this weekend, was to be able to adjust in the middle of game. I mean, we won 16-14 in a third set. Like, this was a battle, a big time
the
battle.
backstory is, this is the team we lost 16-14 to in the third set in the previous tournament in Orlando.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those revenge games. We know this team. We've played them. We battle with them back and
So
forth.
evenly matched, though. I mean, so evenly matched.
Well, they were up on us 14-12. We came back and won 16-14. 2 weeks ago in Orlando, we were up 14-12. They came back and beat us 16-14. So
It's
go figure.
anyone's game. Well, let's talk about that score, because I have a thing for the players now, is that, you can do that, right? Like, if you're listening and you're a player, like, you can come back and win that game when you're down 12-14. I mean,
Seems impossible.
did it. We just did it. And you can ask any of our girls, it's nerve-wracking. But I try to tell them in those timeouts, like, this is fun. This is volleyball. This is what you want. You want the competition. You want the excitement. But let's talk about our middle, because she crushed it.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a middle on our team who has been just working really hard in practice, and she's our serving middle. So she's the one that goes back to serve. Now our libero serves for our other middle. So in volleyball, you're able to have your libero serve in one position. It's typically the middle, not always. So our one middle serves for us, and she's the one who served us back.
Yeah.
We were down 13. We had sided out. We were down 13-14, and she served 3 points in a row.
And any coaches out there know your middle's not usually your best server, right? Because that's not what they're focused on. But it's important to train at least one, if not both, as many serving skills as everybody else on the team, because you're going to get in that position where you need them to get the ball over the net in a difficult spot in a crunch time.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah, and she did, and it was impressive. So I think maybe we talk about this mental mindset of maybe what she had when she went back on the line and served, because we talked to her after the game, and we have actually been working with her a little bit, because there were some times where she was going through some misses, and then she was acing a bunch, and so we were asking her, what are you thinking about when you go back to the line? What is it that, you actually are doing? Do you have a routine? And then in practice, we also put a lot of pressure on her, a lot, because she's our middle who is serving, and it's scary as a middle. I mean, I was a middle, and it's terrifying when you go back there and serve, because then you have to play defense and do all the things. And I think in these last 3 points, she had 2 out of system sets, something like that. Yeah. She was playing, like, she wasn't just serving. So anyway, we had scored. It was 12-14. We scored. We sided out. And she actually went back. She missed her first serve at the beginning of that set. Yeah, in the beginning of 15-point set, she missed her first serve. And so
she made an adjustment.
Without
us having to tell her, because we had talked about it previously.
Yep. And
which was she's a float server, and she would take an approach and a short jump and float serve, but that wasn't working for her earlier in the game because she was hitting the net or hitting it out. She was nervous because the nerves got to her, and Coach Lauren had told her, if you ever get nervous or in a spot, just stand and float serve. And without telling her, in that clutch spot at the end of the game, she stood and she float served, and she got 3 in a row to win the game.
Yeah.
And that was a mental adjustment on her part without us even having to tell her, because from the previous coaching and from her realizing the spot she was in and the necessity to get that ball in.
Yeah.
She made that decision, the right decision at the right time,
Yeah.
which we love.
I have goosebumps talking about this because it's like you feel like as a coach you're repeating yourself and you're repeating yourself and you're repeating yourself. But
Yeah,
then
but
there's
when
a time when it clicks, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so worth
They're
repeating
listening.
myself.
They learned.
Yeah, because, and I don't even think I talked to her that game about her serving. I
Right.
think
It might have been the day
it was
before.
the day before that we had talked about it. And so that was a really cool a win for us and as a team and her as a
And a
player.
big growth opportunity for her, and
Yeah. Yeah. So that was another big thing for us this weekend. And I think if you're a player and you're nervous about serving, maybe talk to your coach about a routine. Maybe talk to another player and ask them what they think about when they go back to serve. Like maybe talk to the best server on your team who gets all the aces and just ask them, like, how do you do that, right? And just be curious because everybody has a different routine. And then, if you're a coach and you're listening and you're serving at practice, but they're just not really serving with a purpose. They're just practicing getting it over the net. Something we love to do is make pressure situations.
oh yeah.
So
We just did
right
that.
before this tournament, you can talk about what we did.
Well, yeah, before this tournament, on the Thursday practice before the tournament, we put them in a pressure serving situation. And they had to get 3 serves in, or maybe it was 5.
I think it was 5.
I think it was
I don't remember.
3 or 5
Might have been
serves.
3,
3 or
which
5
was
serves
perfect.
in. And what we did was we lined up the entire team on the back line, and they had to serve over them while the team was yelling at them. Not derogatory, but screaming, cheering, distracting.
Your shoes untied. Watch the line.
Watch your foot, acting
Yeah.
like the parents, screaming their name.
Miss it.
And the first 4 or 5 times they each did it, they failed
Right.
because they got distracted. They looked over here. They looked at their foot. They couldn't find the ball. But as we went through this drill and did it over and over and over and got it louder and louder, they learned to focus and to tune out that background noise, which really worked out to our advantage.
I mean, yeah, how loud was that gym,
That
right?
gym
That
was
gym
louder
was
than any other gym.
so loud. We were going point for point for point. And, if anyone's ever played a Florida team, we can be loud. And so I think from our parents and their parents, it was an awesome environment. And I hope that, it
that's
continues.
Just
But
a silly little thing you can do in practice that really
Yeah.
works in a game situation.
yeah, just add that pressure situation,
Because if you don't practice it, when it happens in game time, you're on your own.
And they all change their serve, right? When they get nervous, they go
Right.
back there and they change
Lob it
their
in,
serve.
or
Yeah,
they-
and then it's a free ball for the team, and there you go. So, serving is a really big thing, especially, we see it at the younger age, too. A lot of it comes from just keeping the ball in to, okay, I'm trying to ace them. Yeah.
And then you talk about the pressure situation. The funny thing for me is to take a look over at the parents every once in a while. And you can imagine what this girl's mom was going through when she's serving for,
Game point.
tie and
Yeah,
ahead and game point. And, after the match, the mom still couldn't breathe 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
So, not just the players nervous, but all the parents are, nerves. And if you're a parent, you've been there. Maybe we should do some drills for parents or breathing exercises for parents.
Yeah, seriously, have them come to the practice and be on the sideline. But I think, the best thing is that game-like situation as much as you can, and especially exposure at the young age to having those kind of
Sure.
pressure.
That experience, yeah. Next time she'll be prepared, and hopefully the rest of the
She'll
team as
know
well.
that feeling of, okay, I can do this, right? And a lot of it's confidence. It's, I can do this. I've done it before, and I've got this. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about parents. If you're listening, this one's for you.
We love our parents.
We do. They're really great. We're having a really good year with our parents. But let's talk about the pressure in that last match. Let's talk about the emotions and kind of maybe what the parents might have been feeling on the sideline, and maybe what the kids were hearing while they were playing if they listen.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think? What do you think was going through some of these parents' head?
Oh, I think they're just nervous for their child. I mean, that's your offspring out there, and you don't want them to fail.
Yeah.
But volleyball is tough sport. There's a lot of failure in volleyball. So they're nervous, they're hopeful, they're excited. There's all those emotions going through, and the loudness, and all that's going on. And from a parent, you have to try and keep encouraging your child without sounding like a maniac, because they hear you and we hear you, and everything contributes to that. The more athletes get along and older, they can tune the world out better and get focused. But little kids, you see them all the time in the younger ages. They're constantly looking over. They're looking at their parent, or they're looking at their coach, because they want that reassurance, because they haven't learned to bring it all from within yet.
Right.
So it's really important, and our parents did a great job of encouraging and motivating and not getting too down if we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because we were up in that third set.
We were down 4-0.
No, but then we were up like 10-8.
Yeah.
Before it turned around and became.
I think we were up 12-10.
Yeah.
And they got 4-point run because we got aced a few times.
So
that's exactly what happened.
So important for our parents to stay up and positive when things aren't going well, because if the energy from the parent sideline or the coaching sideline or the player bench goes way downhill, it's going to go downhill on the court as well. So.
Yeah. And I think our parents did a really good job, because there can be a time where, and I tell the girls this a lot too, is, we don't beg for points, and we don't beg for things to happen. The energy that we need is like pure joy energy, right? So there's a difference between like, come on girls, like you got this, you got to get this side out, right? Like that's begging for them, like don't miss your serve, right? Instead of, oh my gosh, you so got this, like come on, like let's go, right? Like there's very different energy that comes from just a few tone changes. And I think our parents did a phenomenal job of, when we got a kill, when we got a block, like that bench went wild. And then we got ace 2 or 3 times in a row, and they still were cheering just like we were winning. And I think, the girls can feel that, and they hear it, and as much, maybe they acknowledge it, maybe they don't. Maybe we should ask our girls, what they actually hear out there. But I think, as a parent, it's just keeping the high energy.
Yeah. So everybody knows that volleyball's like a roller coaster, right? You're up and you're down. 14. You're winning points, you're losing points, you're winning points, and the emotions on the court are going up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
But the best thing to learn is to keep your energy level high, whether your points are going, because that draws you back up. If your energy comes down, then that whole thing spirals.
Yeah.
And we've seen that over and over and over again. When you get in those big point loss runs and you just can't stop it, and then a game that was 12-12, you're now losing 18-12 or 19-12, and it's pretty much over at that point. So to keep that positive energy going all the time, whether you're winning or losing, is really important. And you talked about that with the girls this week, about coming together and being excited. And what did you tell them?
Yeah, so we worked a lot in practice, I feel like, just about coming together as a team, but also celebrating even just the silly things like a missed serve from the other team. That's still a free point, right? So coming together and just cheering and being excited. But I think we're building the confidence of these girls, and we told them to cheer for themselves. I think that's something that isn't really taught in a lot of
pat yourself
sport.
On the back.
Is like, when you do something really cool and really good, get excited about it, because not only are you going to feel good about that, but it's going to show your team that you're excited about what you just did. So, for example, we have this really awesome right side, and every time she gets a block, she turns around and she just lights up the gym, and everyone just runs around her and pushes her and shoves her, and half our kids are on the ground because they're so excited. And I think that energy from her drives them to get excited too.
Yeah, and one of our outsides is the same way.
She gets a kill and you could hear her from 5 courts over.
Yeah, and that just brings everybody to that level, same level of excitement.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about when those emotions are really high.
Yeah, so when you're in that high pressure situation and your emotions are high and the game's on the line and the parents are excited and the other team's excited, what are some tips? What do you tell kids from your experience what to do to get yourself back under control?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just take a deep breath, right? So when maybe we get aced a couple times in a row, we come together as a team, we all take a collective deep breath, like as a team, it's a team sport. We all need to be there together. But same thing when we get a monster kill or we get 5 aces in a row, that makes the energy high and we need to come together and
Right.
take a
So
deep
you
breath.
don't sail the next one out of bounds at 100 miles an hour because you're so pumped up.
Yeah.
Right. You have to get back to that collected.
It's that goldfish mentality. I think someone taught me that when I was really young is like, yeah, that's really cool. You're just a cool thing. Okay, forget about it. Right? Next point.
Well, same thing if you do a bad thing. Forget about
Forget
it.
about it. Next point. Yeah.
It's
So,
over. You're never going to get it back. Whether it was great or bad, you can go watch the film, but it's not going to help you on the next point.
yep. So I think, parents and players maybe have a conversation about that. Maybe talk about how can we move on really quickly from the previous point to get to the next point and keep pushing through.
Well, I've seen you do that from the sideline too, right? If somebody's got a great kill or just had an ace and they're serving again, I'll see you go, calm
Take a
down,
deep breath.
take a breath, relax, so that the next one is intentional.
Yes. Yeah. Always doing things with intention. Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. What do you think we need to work on in practice this week?
Wow, I don't know if I'm prepared for that.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, I think we need to work on some hustle plays. We let too many balls hit the ground.
Yeah.
Some of our players are a little hesitant. They'll wait for somebody else to move, or they'll stand up, or they'll watch the play rather than being engaged. So I think we need to come up with some drills that get them to move in the direction of the ball as quickly as possible, to stay low, to take that first step with energy,
Yeah. Do you,
not be indecisive.
yeah, the indecisiveness. Do you think that comes from, the age they are, maybe where they have been playing before, the level of play that they've had, the speed of the game? Maybe talk a little bit about what do you think drives that?
I think it's all of the above.
Yeah.
I think it's all of the above. I think it's not something that is instinctual for every kid. Some of them, yes, but not for everyone. So that's something that needs to be taught, that you need to move and you need to think about where the ball's going and how you're going to get there as quick as possible. I think a lot of kids in pressure situations and in group situations, if they're not a leader type personality, they're more of a follower type personality, they'd rather let someone else go do it than do it themselves. And that translates to going after a ball.
Yeah.
If it's between you and the next person and you're not that aggressive personality, well, you might just want to let them go get it.
Right.
Or you might be hesitant because you think, oh, I'm not good enough, or she's better than me. And we have to break that mindset and get it so that you're hungry to get every ball. You have to have that mentality of every ball is mine until it's not.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come naturally for a lot of kids. So that's something I think that needs to be taught.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, players, if that's you and you're listening and you feel like maybe that's you, talk to your coaches, talk to your parents, talk to players, right? Again, interview other kids that maybe have that hustle and say like, how do you do that? Right. And learn from each other. Yeah, I think just the hungry mentality, I like that. You want the ball, right?
Yeah.
The ball's not scary. Go get it. You
So
want
I
that
tell them
ball.
all the time before a serve, go through in your mind, I want the ball. This ball's mine. I'm
Please
gonna
serve
get this.
to
I'm
me.
going to make a great pass. Please serve it to me. Be hungry for the action.
Yeah.
You're not there to be a spectator.
No.
You're there to play and you're there to shine, and that's the way you do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think hustle this week in practice is going to be a big thing. I think that put us, maybe we lost over the whole weekend 8 points on hustle plays, but that's 8 points, right? Like that's where we can grow and that's where we can get these kids to the next volleyball level. I think the next thing we also need to work on in practice is just more of their confidence. Like I think coming off a weekend like this, it's such a big weekend and such a big win that we need to remind them, like, you are good at volleyball. You can do this. Hey, do you remember that time when you won 16-14 in the championship set? Like, and parents, I think I'm going to preach this to you over and over again in these episodes, is do that for your kids. remind them about how cool they are and that they did that, right? Remind them, hey, do you remember those 4 blocks you had against
Yeah.
that girl? Hey, do you remember how many aces you had that weekend? Like,
Right.
remind
And
them all the
that's
cool
the perfect
things.
thing for the car ride home with parents and players is how great they are, how great they did, all the awesome plays they made,
Yeah.
and building that confidence because that's what they'll remember going forward. Nobody remembers the bad plays. Nobody remembers the mistakes unless you bring it up to them.
Right.
We want to forget those. We want to focus on the great stuff because that's what we want to do moving forward.
Yeah, so I think in practice, we'll definitely keep reminding them those focus tips. I think, one last thing maybe we'll work on in practice is just a little bit more serve receive. I think, especially against some of these teams this weekend that had better servers, we couldn't get our middles involved. And we'll talk about this and hopefully next week in our episode about the importance of getting our middles involved. We have 2 really good middles. We're very lucky at 14 to
Most
have
teams
some
don't.
really good middles.
And it causes a lot of problems for other teams.
Yes. And so I think, our serve receive this weekend was phenomenal. I think in the higher speed games and the higher pressure games, we maybe struggled a little bit more and our middles didn't get set as much. So
Right.
I think, we'll just work on a little bit more aggressive serves at our serve receive and see where we can get.
And back to the confidence thing, one thing it reminded me of is when you were playing and I was the assistant coach, one of our head coaches would say to the girls all the time, he would pull one aside towards the end of practice and he would look them straight in the eye and he would go, you know what I'm saying? He'd say,
I know
you
exactly.
are a really good volleyball player. And that seemed kind of weird at the time, but it really hit home because now that kid goes home, hey, my coach said I'm really good. And he would do it sporadically to different players at different times. But everybody got involved and everybody understood that they were a good player because a lot of them don't have that confidence and they don't know that they really are good. They're trying, but if they don't get told that they're good and they're performing well, then they have the attitude of maybe I'm not that good. But if they're told, hey, you did this great, you did that great, you're a good player,
Yeah.
you got to keep it up because we need you, then it builds that confidence.
And I think this is really important at any age, but also any level of play. If you're a new volleyball player and you really, are working hard, or if you're a coach that coaches maybe a 3rd team at a big club, that's when it's most important.
Yeah.
Tell those kids because they love this game so much. Like,
Right.
remind them how good they are.
And they don't have the confidence because they're looking at these other players who they see as so much better than them. And they want to be there, but they're afraid or they're insecure inside because they don't think they're that good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really great point. And I think as coaches, we can definitely do that for these players. And
we do because that's stayed with me. So I try to do that. I mean, I did that twice this weekend to 2 different players.
I think one of my favorite things I do for these kids, and it's kind of similar to that, is I ask them all the time, I'm like, why did I hire you for this team? Now, mind you, I don't pay these kids, right? They don't make money from me, but I ask them, why did I hire you, right? Because they come to tryouts and they're in a sea of 55 girls and they make my 10-person team. I hired them, right? They're here to play and work hard. And so I ask them and they'll say, for example, our libero, I'll ask her, why did I hire you to be on this team? And she'll look at me and she'll say, to pass the ball. And I'm like, yes, because you're a very good passer, right? Like, I would not have picked you to be with me on this team
those kids,
if I didn't think you were a good passer. And so it's kind of a gentle, fun way to remind them of, oh, wait, no, she did pick me because I'm good.
And I am.
Yeah. So I think if you need a tip of how to do that, that's a fun way.
Yeah, that is a good one.
All right. So let's just wrap up and talk about, maybe what we're going to talk about next week and just more moving forward with our podcast. But the wrap up from this week is we're coming off a big win. We had a lot of fun this weekend. We're super excited to start this podcast and hopefully get some parents and coaches and players involved, and just having more open conversation about the game.
Yeah, between coaches and players, parents and players, coaches with each other.
Yeah.
Just encouraging that positivity to bring out the best in these players.
Yeah, and to bring up this energy on the sideline from our parents, to keep our girls calm, cool, and collective. They're going to laugh at me for that one. To keep them all having fun, to keep yeah, to just have that mindset, to make those adjustments mid-game. Yeah, I think this week was really good for
Yeah,
us.
all those things came together. We were successful,
Yeah,
and hopefully we can continue that. I mean, we're not going to win every tournament. We may not win another one this season,
right.
but we're going to keep that same energy and focus and drive and desire to do that every time we get out there.
Yeah. So I think next episode, we're gonna try and talk a little bit more on maybe our practices leading up to our tournament. So we have about a week and a half. We're not this weekend, but the following weekend we
Right.
have our Tampa tournament.
Yeah, how to
So
prepare for an upcoming
how we're going to
tournament.
prepare for that. Yeah. And, we'll also talk about, I think, our middles, how we're going to get them more involved.
Right.
And especially the importance of involving middles early on in the game. Middles are thought of blockers only, and I think there's a
Yeah.
lot more to that.
Right. And at this age, especially when teams are developing, a lot of times they have one good outside hitter, and that player gets all the balls. But if we can spread it around to the rest of the team, we become much more dynamic. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. And, one last thing we'll probably touch on is just what to actually talk about to your kid in the car,
Yeah.
on the way to practice, on the way to the tournament, on the way home from the tournament.
What they want to hear and what they don't want to hear.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Whether you win or lose, what are some things that you can say?
Great.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to your coach's car ride home. Hope you enjoyed it and
Yeah.
follow us along.
Please. See you next time.